Three. Yeah. Nganzu the mancha zapasang the channel to tiwa kari language tiwa yana nga tangro cheese.
Yes. So Friday is interaction session. So if you have any questions, kindly ask.
Hello, Geshe. Hello, Tsultrim. I would like to ask why we're so attached to our suffering.
Attached to suffering?
Yes, why are we so attached to our suffering?
And this song is again, 먼저 삼례 수수수기 동해라 착신으로 전부 연구도 수수기 동해라. 되게 김색깔이 있나스.
I don't know. Shimba Samzu Shuchos, thank you, Thalara.
Yes. Of course, I can share my own thoughts. So if there are any other questions, we'll take a few questions together.
No.
My question isn't fully formed. It's based on a discussion I was having with somebody about how other people, I'm going to try and do this in real time, but basically the example given was when there are introduced animals, they have a really big impact on the native environment. And there are people who kill these introduced animals for the sake of protecting the biodiversity. And the question I have is, sometimes it feels like we might be benefiting off the harm that other people are doing, in the example of, killing sentient beings, but the benefit being, well, there are less introduced species that might be having a negative impact on like the immediate environment. So I'm aware that everybody has their own karma, and the people who are choosing to eradicate introduced species may have a good intention, but I just wondered about like what being somebody who is like actively not choosing to kill other sentient beings, but may benefit from people who are doing that, maybe in an indirect way. But yeah, I hope that, does that make sense? So yeah, I guess I'm just curious about how other people's karma might interact with our own. If okay, another example, sorry, is people who kill mosquitoes because they don't want to catch any blood-borne diseases. And if I'm sharing a room with somebody and they're killing the mosquitoes, I may be benefiting from that. So I just wondered about like the heaviness of somebody's karma who is doing that, but also, are there implications for me who may benefit from that by not doing it? Thank you.
And 저희 들으시게나 삼정관수기 심진기 소제다다 딘디기 레점기 요라스 소소게기 케벤치기 된다라 아니 디디치 갑라 릭치기 소주기 레랑스 슈그메바 있나야 아니 대기 다 심지디 소치비기 딱가서 디긴데부 롱스 주데바 딘디 연구도 왔어 페차스나 다 미리치기 다 두랑 페차스나 두랑디 두랑 망부여나 나츠나그둘란 두랑 간주 생이들이 망부 연구로 왔어 안다 콘조도 두랑고 쓰기 위해서 콘조 레진 연구에 지르다 리치기 두랑고에서 쓰기 메바 있나요 미 심바기 두랑 세발레 테니 다 디긴데부 나차 지금 거만요 돼 롱치 지딩이 요레스 아니 디강라다 두란 세기 여바텔 믹스기 가와스키 마친이다 두스 데딩이 지용라 다 코텔 타늄 로샤데 시잔 디기릭딜라 아니 다 소응스타 지기 요마르데 이니양 소체바텔라 가차마치바다 야나 다 두란 로지 마세나 디기 코 나차 마게야기 데바데 소스 뇽디에사 텔라 아니 미기빌레 사야 소르바트디 융그르베스
Good question. Re. Shimba. Ada? Yes.
Thank you. Some people I read and hear who have spontaneous healing or have somehow managed to heal their body from the illness that they have. What advice or guidance do you have on how we can heal or accept the way the body is in order to heal?
단다 미릭치라게나 수수 수부기 라 나차든지 여바이나 랑싱기 차 투비야기 던 뉴바스나미도 랑싱기 차 줘야 안든지 융그리세기도스 안치 용기 수수 아니 수불란 직 가서로 나자라고든지 여바이나 안테 야부지 차야치도 수부기 내단 강인 받은 원래 투비야라 안 탑람 카리어레 야야 수부기 나사디 차야기 치도라 야치 탑람 카리어레스
So, one more question or no? Yes. Yeah. Tanda nganzu gomba manager ki dungal chakshin chiya de kare sej. Nganzu dungal chakshin kashin chiwa se dirwa.
no
Di tiwa di ngala ya thokma roji isra.
yes
Elen lo chuk chik sajile yangi tiwa tilen da chikshiya dere ni ya. Dungal chakwa ki de sengi gomba manager ma de le ma songs.
yes. So our first question is regarding why do we have kind of so much attachment towards our own suffering? And this is rather a kind of a new question to me. I've been here interacting for the last 11 years, and I'm hearing this question for the first time.
It chikchina tiwa tidanji ki pigi karsa da chik ingir ma dong unni ki dungar le ya chaks lawan di dungar chik dungar le ya deba yo gyoro chik dungar le ya chik karsa da chik gawa yo gyo so da chik kowa dindi chik legi do asara and di yimbay na nganzu chidangi semgam chigi rodanda mantin gyoro jiro ta nganzu ro chidangi socha ki semgam di dewa dewa da dungar mun dewa chingchong res sungyo res ro di pa dewa ina ya chik socha kanda jimba ina ya chik rodan dugdan kanda jik tol dewa ina ya dewa gogu yoba da dungar gogu meba chik ina nganzu pa drup tuya roji chaga oras ro tenzi kirangi tewa di tele dogyo roji chadi di chikchina tewa di kanda jik tigiyo mingi hama go gyoro chaga songs ro
Yes. Um, so probably maybe I'm not understanding the proper context of your question. Otherwise, when you say that we have attachment to our own suffering, it somehow implies that we deliberately embrace or rather enjoys or wish for suffering, which is contrary to the kind of popular, which is contrary to the universal human kind of wish, because we all want happiness and we do not want suffering, and this is kind of a universal truth. And your question seems to be contrary to this basic fact, or maybe this is kind of, we may not be getting the proper context of how you're asking this question.
직진한 안쪽에다 동할 문제 치원데 pen 캐번 뒤지기 동할 세 pen 또 망부지기 사진이 원래는 안주 폼부디 아니 동하베란 신레샤 세 시고라스라 걔는 디더질 봐 아니 차다질 봐 문제 치는 pen 폼부디 동하와라샤 폼부들이야 차 아니 하장기 착신 치도 디카리 세비소 임바에는 양내술 그 로가지레도 아스라 대마도 걔는 동할 지 차그도세 동아디 동아 칸다젤랑 문세치게 딩알 세우지직 소나 빼야고도스.
Yes. Or if you're asking from the point of view of suffering in the context of the all-pervasive suffering, which also includes our physical body as well. So, so if you're asking from that point of view, it's a different case. So if you could kind of clarify the context of your question, maybe I can shed some more light.
I'll do my best. Sometimes it feels like there's a choice. And we choose suffering. I guess it's quite subtle. Yeah, I guess it's a grasping. Is my question perhaps, is there a choice?
Now, this one is again.
저 세우서 죽도 죽라. Yeah.
Okay, I'll try and come up with an example. Yeah, I think I'm seeing into I guess the suffering is when we're grasping at the suffering. So that's the real suffering, is when we're taking we're taking ownership, or we're attaching self-concept to whatever feeling or thought is there. Yeah, maybe it's quite straightforward.
I only know that mode. Be happy, like love, and it feels too awkward. So then I'm always grasping it. Just
Zosenigila.
Thomas 됐다. 그걸 직시해.
Sorry, yeah, I think that's all I have in this moment. Yeah. Do you have? Yeah. Maybe it's the it's just really strong habitual patterns. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes, yes. Yes.
Put my nose in your business, didn't I? Okay. Guess what I think, and Georgia can correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah, I think so.
right? So the case of someone who's a drug addict, right? They know that they're taking that drug and it's going to cause them suffering, but they still take it anyway. So we do this with many different things, with food. You know, someone can eat food and they know if they keep eating, they're going to get fat and sick, you know, or someone drinking beer and they're going to get fat and sick with the wheel of life. So that question is, why do we then, when we know it's going to bring suffering long term, why do we grasp for the immediate happiness, isn't it, in a sense? To escape from that state of mind, at that point, we grasp at something which will cause us suffering in the future. Is that right? You think so?
Yep, I think it's okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
나스 비지디 숨게 있어요. 당한도 삼레 나도 직 수수다 담같이 얘기 톱탄들이 영화 여바 있나 양스러게라. 아니 직 랑신기 동행기 초라 담쇼레 중도 왔어. 배샤스는 아주 창라 동에디 수수불라 느기 여바 더 신기 여라. 아니 신기라 아니 최세기 대화직이 된다라 고 통쇼레다 다들이 망부지 연구도 왔어. 디 관심이 연구였는지.
다들 착비 원세 들어다. 그 착신식이 원긴 거라. 되게 오늘 그 풍장림보다 아니지 되게 삼로디 많던지 내가 그 착신식이 원거리 모두 뒤 동화를 착비 원거리 더 세게 말했어. 된스도 그냥 저도 시우 배시 시우 차송세 안 저로서라야 시우 차이 그래서 된스 렌시라 거서 말어.
So the reason why we make such decisions that may end up suffering in the long run is basically due to our attachment to such habits or such actions. It's not necessarily attached to suffering, but rather being not able to think for the long-term goodness and carried away by temporary kind of attachment.
된다다 저니버디 야구 밴도스라 안중군이 지 내든 뒤 넘버 3집에 쇼라야 레균데 세티 숨고요라스라 레균데 레 간드지 싸기요메 레사비 콜롱라 카르고요메 아니 레 무지 간드지 차기요메 아니 주 간드지 조고요메기 지 렌데기 남샤디 야부지 하코바이나 테니 ता दिग्ब मासायागिता lamgaro de nyesarwas timado ani nganzu lunga gchoba khandra sheba yimaynya ani digba sayaga hachang nyinga chimbure dosra.
Yes. And then the second question is pertaining to karma, basically. And if you understand what constitute our karma to be, what constitute kind of a complete karma, what that involves motivation, the actual act, and the completion of that act, and so on and so forth. So if you understand the entire entire kind of thing regarding how a karma is completed, then it will help us to find a way to avoid suffering, avoid negative karma. Otherwise, whatever actions that we do through our body or speech, there is a tendency, often tendency to become a negative karma.
Pena number sanjibigi chudi jichusa tranding gi lamlaya jichuba chagayorasra tranden said tang ani nguyunizu ngubi nelujilaya jichune ani tranding lamla ani tranding lamni rodanji chidan dishegdo asra tinza ta tranding uma di rangi dewadruya ranglaya topdan yoba rangi dungar sayadi ranglaya topdan yoba chik 마도 랑기 디기 치도 아니 셴라 동안 지야기 톱단디 랑이라 매버치 로 덴디지기 토는 드와이나 당군이 장대로 왔어 장대로 왔어 딘자다 미싱 가르치기에 바이난다 베나타 저랑 빼셔야 지도 도장 세고 있는다 라 나사용이 도장 세고 있는다 가르치거나 디고 가르치기에 바데 디 피기 도장 생긴 디게 수수기 디기기 쳐도 이젠 그 채소 초고 열어서 대 장대 말어서 대 아카 디 장대 치투고 뭐다 삼비기 로직게 봐이나 아니 도장 세바텔이야 아니 가신치 용사 말어서 가와 용고 말어서 다 도장 매월 때는 가 기부 용사 삼비기 아니 콜혼데 용고 말어서 대 마용디 안치 다 소소라야 도장 그소 마게 바텔라 도장 피기 세네 도장 파쇼메 도장 세발 때니 다이 간시다 간시 소소 도장 마사와 텔이야 아니 파쇼메 도장 세자 다디 야부 총삼비 가와지 말레나 파쇼메 도장 그 가르면 가르세 바이나야 디 소소라 녀버 그 이야기 디오 마레스다 로
Yes. So when we talk about Buddha Dharma in general, Buddhism is based on a reality, based on justice or based on truth. And on that fundamental level, we all have the right to seek happiness that we want, and we all have the equal right to discard the suffering that we do not want. But having said that, we do not have any right to cause harm and hurt others for the sake of one's own happiness. So that is based on the fundamental truth or reality that we all have every right to seek the happiness that we want, but we do not have any right to cause harm to others for your own happiness. Now, when it comes to, for instance, the consequence of actions, for instance, killing an mosquito. So if you deliberately kill mosquito for your own kind of comfort, then absolutely it's not okay, it's not fair, because you are taking the life, you are killing others, sentient beings for your own happiness or for your own comfort. And now, when others kill the mosquito, and if you do not kind of, rejoice or appreciate others killing the mosquito so that you feel, okay, now I will be, have a comfortable environment because the mosquitoes has been killed. If you appreciate others being involved in the killing of other sentient beings, then of course you are also part of that negative act. But if you do not appreciate others killing, then you don't really necessarily face the consequence.
딱 파쇼메기 도장 세운디 다디 야부 총성 가와게 바이나 소소라 녀바디 용고르스다 정은 죽숨 찬상기 아니 딕바지다 도장세비 딕바지다 요마르데이냐 간지 아니 도장세비 녀바지 그거르스 간자 델라 예랑게 사버려서 딕바세도 조 콜홍라라레다 셈라라레거르스 다디 아카 총마선 딕마선 다디 삼비기 로직게 바이나 안 파쇼미 가르쳐봐 디 nganzola nyeba koyagi di kan yo mares gyu kan yo marta nyeba yonya gyujen gora gyujen kan yo mares da kanji yo mares ro
When others, when others kill mosquito, and if you somehow appreciate that, or if you somehow kind of feel okay about that, then of course we 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 also commit some kind of negative karma. So the negative act or negative karma or positive karma is highly dependent on our motivation. So when others kill a mosquito, if you do not accept that act of killing as kind of, if you accept that, if you say, well, it's okay, then our motivation is tainted. On the other hand, if you are against that act, then we do not have the motivation of killing the mosquito or hurting the other sentient being. Then when motivation is not present, then an act, a negative act, act of negative is not completed.
kanji dorduna rangda shin sudachiki lunga yiksamgi chik chawa marab chik chawa marongwa chik cheba thongbayina imi shornye mares da tele ya gawa gomnye mares gawa gombayina murongwi chawa tela gawa gombayina di karso ta chik migiwa murongwi chawa chagores murung이 chawa chawa. 다 디 딕바 무스 딕바드 간지 딕비 콘돌에 로샤고레스로. 랑신 수르지기 게위 chawa지 롱위 chawa지. 즉 아니 가서 즉 잔딩기 레가지 체와 통바이나 텔 이란 끼바이나 디 게위 콘돌에 로고레스. 도르드 딘디저스다로 딘디지레스다로
So to summarize, when we see some others are engaging in a negative act, we must not appreciate that act. We must not rejoice that act. We must not accept that act. And if we kind of appreciate the negative act of others, although it may not become a complete negative kind of karma, but it still become a part of a negative act. Therefore, we must not rejoice, accept the negative karma committed by others. On the other way, when we see some others engaging in a positive act, if we feel rejoice that, if we appreciate that, then this will also become a part of a positive karma.
된당한들 디인구라스라 빼나 더 장된 지금 매바지 통바이나 마가윌로 기시기라스라 마가윌로 콘주 사시라다 라 디쇼바이나 야 대미기와 차고레스 라 파쇼마지기 에 담부시인난다 소차칸데 빼나 미세바지 통바이나 미치 세반 통바이나 생긴기 메델랑 콘주 개 이게 가서 다지 콘주 지시기라 다로 콘주 지에게 년가 배침부여라서 다 딜 콘주 지바이나 대야 아니 콘주디 뉴문 비셈으로서 뉴문 비셈 중원도 좋은데 대야 간지 소송원에다 농축 소유 차고레스 파쇼말라 이란 마셔바지 파쇼말라 콘트로 마사바지 통바에는 닌지제다 닌지 다고 지기 가서다 뉴몬비 마시비 왕기다 그 아니 내가 탑교 딘디 체거라 삼비 로직이 도바나 디 디다 기와리스 기비 셈차거레스로
Yes. And then again, sometimes when we see others engaging in a negative karma, and if we feel kind of repulsive about that, if we get angry, for instance, if somebody killed another human being, and our immediate reaction would get angry, although that act is a horrible act, but if we get angry, anger is a negative state of mind. And again, whenever a negative state of mind arises, in our mental continuum, this is again not okay. So whenever we see somebody else committing a kind of mistake, instead of getting angry or instead of getting kind of repulsive or getting angry, we must try to cultivate compassion by thinking that that person is in fact committing negative karma due to ignorance or due to negative afflictive emotions. The other person is committing such misdeed. So instead of getting angry, we must try to cultivate compassion in such scenario.
다양 콘트로 마사슬라디 지 가양 마체네 샤자 거르세로 디디 마르 레몬다스라 양아도 디디 코스기도 하더라 콘트로 마사슬라디 콘트로 마사나 아니 피기 미디 있는다 가 독자 가르 지기 여바이나야 텔라 콘트로 마사슬라디 따가라 샤쇼세 고바이나 대양 코너렌도 하스라 대 마치 피기 미 있는다 디 셴라야지 하장기 벤 아니 루솔은 네비기 차와 좀 구여바나 디 소수기 니비톤이 지파 까토야게 니바지 여바나 네버도 땡 거야지 디 까야라 인지민 콘도 사고 만다서라 펜섬 지고 꺼내라네 아니 딘지기다 딘지 빼먹고 치야도서라다
Yes. And when we say we should not get angry while witnessing such a situation where other person is committing a misdeed, when we say we should not get angry, it does not mean that we should remain indifferent to that act. So of course, if you see somebody committing a misdeed, we must try our best to kind of to stop that. And in order to stop that act, we don't really necessarily need to get angry. And instead of getting angry with a positive motivation, we can always interfere to stop others committing such misdeed.
페이지 딘디즈멘트스라 다 십자페 뭐무치야 다 간지 십자 삼로 쇼지라 당간주 남지 트버틸 레야 균센데다 라 걔는 트버 가주스 트트바이나야 트베간레 트버티토바나 안간주 세른로야지 개체자다 요레스다 라 넘버 산지 위치고다 아니 케주직디 가주스 균센 트바이나야 레메바 마임바 레여바지 다양코 랭갱잉 벤 kabab ngayinza nge ngone ngayi leng mandawa dindi yonsigri mado namba sanji wi chojong toni leng mandawa jikta tsawani ni yomares dinzi dire da dindi pe din sabun ro to yajenza ani nganzo 30 se de ginzen diji chagda azra.
Yes. So in this way, there are many kind of subtle differences regarding this. And this is the whole reason why we engage in interaction and asking questions. when you ask a question, and of course I will try to clarify that, and then if you put another question regarding that, then it will help us to make this point very clear. So this is one unique thing about Buddhism, is that you can ask as many questions as you want, and you will always find the kind of the answer. And if I have all the answers or not, it's a different matter. But Buddhist philosophy will always have some answer regarding that. So therefore, it's really crucial to ask more questions.
Tenzda chidangi namba sanji wi chudi ko har tu wondi sem jong rimbaji chaga dasra sem jong rimbaji sem di hajang ngazu lunga yisam nang top cheshu di sem re dora sem chagores ani sem gi top yobayna lu song tu gores dara ani tewasma digita chi lu natsa ranshin gi chagro se ji ki tewajik tansara ina ya ranshin gi chag se di 야 남산지 따르고 돈을 셔바는 될야 각바페 쳔보다 란싱 좀 세들 하장 각바 쳔부 요래서 란싱 줘야지다 란싱 타줘야지 또요 말했어 이번에는 샘그 톱기 류그 나자이나 자투야 된디 땡땡 연구 요라서
Yes. And then another thing is the whole Buddha Dhamma is all about training the mind or transforming the mind, meaning our mind has immense influence on our kind of influence on our body or our influence at the physiological level. For instance, the next question is about how we get healed, how our body can heal naturally. So strictly from Buddhist point of view, we may not necessarily accept how our body naturally gets healed, but our state of mind definitely has a huge impact on the body. And if you have a positive state of mind, that could also influence the healing of the body.
다 란신기 탁슬라온디 란신기 탁슬라온디 지 규단 깬 칸라야 마트바 작로요 소리지 디코고 그래 디직디 오동 그 고데 디차고 그래서 란신기 탁슬라온디 아니 규겐 칸라야 마트바 작로요 로지 디요 말레스 나사 코란 규단 깬지 또기 나사 레고연 수부 pen namgyu subu thangbu jimba ya khod naya di gyugen ji ke ji tobgi ani gyo sombar wasra ani gyugen ji tobgi gyo roya di tya kun gyu rangshin jinza gyugen ji ji tobgi ya ko gyu roya yobadi tinguyu chagores tinza pena ngazu nasa chi nabayna tanga ta chaksa mari sambi lodi nongchugin sares ro amjimu karmu karlabayna ta tsawani chag mari sambi loji kibayna teni nimalaya ani susu subode hajangi ani kyo chagroyaji kansa ludi sem gu song ne de yorasra sem le tawandi ludbe ani 하장기 교보더니 냠줘야지. 다 개인지고 또 지나다 땡땡지 교와지다 땅 유기리 삼비 레와지 끼바이나. 디기 디코랑기 아니 레와 코랑기 아니 류디 아니 gyurmu tsotoyagi gyulayan roguyosares.
Yes. So when we say how our body gets naturally healed, that kind of usage of the term naturally healed could mean that our diseases get healed without any causes and conditions, which is contrary to the kind of which is contrary to the basic tenets, because everything comes about due to cause and effect. Even the sickness comes about from causes and effect. And since everything is subject to change, the sickness that you have right now is also subject to change. Therefore, if you think that, well, now, if you think that now you may not get healed, that is also a mistaken kind of thought, because it's really important to have a positive state of mind, because our our uh, our our physical body is somehow guided or controlled by our mind. And if you have such negative kind of mental attitude, then there is a tendency that our physical conditions will deteriorate even faster. Therefore, our mind should never kind of lose hope over our body. And if we have hope by thinking that just as this particular temporary disease is caused by certain causes and conditions, and if we there is always a chance and possibility of kind of getting recovered from that, so that hope will also influence our physical condition. Um, uh, Therefore, it's really crucial to have that kind of positive mental outlook.
rewa jigi yora, the rewa di kun di yuaj tanya yugiri sambi, the rewa jigi yora, rewa di pendo yasar, nga la tsorwa jigi yasar, tsorwa jigi, ta nganzu tsorwa shiya dugab yinza, ya nga ngunshi yusar lago mardasar, gyasa gyata nga la ngunshi dili kanya yo marwasar, ka ki nganzu chibu chigi yara, yina ya ngi tsorwa di kasa na, nga nidong chuni chini, nidong chuni chini, 아니 니동 뉴시 작성 파르도 니동 쭈니 니동 뉴시 작성 파르도 아니 남멘 세인스 맨 다비디 맨 세인스 지니 맨 세와인스 다 미츠기 다 지니 맨직 세서베 제라 아니 미셀 사고르스 takdun dunga ta amji tindig ta chora shuk chir taya ma tobi ani koko koro yo mares nga labnyo yesra nga dindi la ina ngi sem nang lo ya los jesa ji kon la tende nga dida chik chue yu giri men sa mugo ji da cha yu giri sami ngi sem nang lo ya rewa pe chimbu leson sra rewa pe chimbu les ta nga rewa tsam re mo nga kap tudi tanga di chik ane gyasha gyataman di chue tukir sami nga la dingso da dindi kaan yo mara nga la rewa pe chimbu leson ngi rewa nima chigla ya gyuwa drochini ngi ki malam nangla ngi subo kanga yonsu zobo mabu margyan chabe dindi nga malam nga kunja tanyo yes nga dindi sem malam dindi leson sira zubo bedun gyuwa droni mabu margyan ngi zubo tanda ku dindi yor ta mi mala nandigda kusu kora mabu margyan idengi ta ani ku dindi yor o digi soraji nga malam dindi tanyo yes.
Yes. So when we encounter a kind of a rather difficult situation, hope plays a very important role in regarding this. So I would like to share my feeling about that. I'm not saying I'm clairvoyant about any situation, but rather I can share an anecdote that happened with me from 2010 to 2023. I was on medication of diabetics. And during that time, the doctors say, and many people even say that once you started taking medication of diabetics, then you have to take it for your entire life. There is no reverse. And even doctors say that I need to increase the dosage over time. But I never personally gave up on that. I thought, well, there is a possibility to reverse that and reverse the diabetes and change that and situation. And 4 years ago, I have a strong feeling that there is definitely a possibility to reverse the condition. And I even had dreams that my body was completely, uh, red in color during that time.
그 맨주 징이질라 투니 다단다 다와 좁게서 저랬어. 다와 좁게서. 남민 간지 다 단다 사기요 말했어. 아니 간지 사고요 말했어. 다디 곧 겐지긴 겨 땅에 여봐 인자 곧 겐지기 토니 겐지기 토니 레반자 곧 겐지기 토니 겨 땅에 여봐 인자 데리마도 셴바 카야 말아서 다나가 다와 좁게서 저nga 사기요 말했으면 다지 조 나자드조 아니 세주그 톤 레기도 하더라 세주그 톤 주그 트레딩 톤다 멘토니 지 피기 랍자유 세주레 저 야보지 마잖아 양자 용시 버지라다 고 지설레자 용시 버지라 어디르다 티 아니 찍티 조치디 소수 샘는 레와지여 땡땡치 유지리 삼친 레와지여 아니 또 지원디 그 겐지 태도 하서 나 딘지 원신 치기였어 봐. 마도 미만부 딘지 영에 됐다 쓴다 참마도 디어 말아왔어. 매왔어. 이번에 나 딘지 총송스.
And now it's more than 18 months. I've completely stopped taking medication, which means that I've completely reversed diabetics. And so the point is that when you have a hope in your heart, there is always a possibility of change and transformation. And nowadays, many of the diseases that we face is largely because of the diet and the food we that eat. So it's very important to be mindful of what we eat, how we eat about it. Otherwise, the situation may relapse. The diseases occur due to causes and conditions. And when we kind of, apply the kind of other causes and conditions, there is always a possibility of reversing the condition.
대승한 주수불에 내단 가르 질레바 있네야. 그 주비 나자 망체지 세주고 토니. 라 군주고 토니 레기도 하스라. 대자 디고 디 겐지고 토니 레완자 겐디 티앙고 규드 겐라 덴반자 디파 가야기 아니 규겐직 덴데여서 딘디 레와 짱바이나 샘글르 마당바이나 덴덴 수부 소야 수부 나자 차야지 또 용구여서레스 로
And many of the illnesses or sickness that we have, mostly they are caused by either the food that we eat or certain habits or behaviors. And then it's really important to kind of stop consuming the food that is bad for your health, or even to stop the habits or behavior that is bad for that. So the point is that it's really crucial to have hope in our mind, and when there is a hope, there is always a possibility of coming out of that situation.
니마질라 당한스 낭자라 니마질라 fatty liver 차송스 fatty liver 차송스라 데니 당이 sometime 바탕가 가르치 나이나 삼니 딩게 레야 다우 축 베시 다우 다 축든 딩게지 콘랑가 아니 다 암지 인생이지기로 진저 딥페 마스 약부여레스 찬알룩 똥나 진저 디 찬알룩 똥바이나 빼 펜부여레스 lava 인생에 다 약부 쇼지 레스 라르다 인생이 니마 딱 쇼기 차나라야 진절루친 진절루는 다 멘톤 동이 바스라 대체 게다마 디가 뇌교로지 가 서로 빌레서 디라 디미 하고 마스더라 이는 이 디샤니 비기 따지 아니 디샤니 다와 툭 jel에 딱지 치온디 디 뇽로샤스 다 이는 야 자체 게다마 디 레셔스 이 라브 메스 라 dindu asda ra dindu ngi sem na la ya da ngan zu chi ani khala khare se ba na ya chi cha nyambu ro chi mang ta ba na ya bu kan ji ba na ya ngan zu su bo la ya cha ma nya ba chi yong gu ya ba chi ro ba dindu ji da dingi da cho me ju ke ja dindu chong song se ra
Yes. And then another thing which I can share with you is that um, I think 6 months ago, I was diagnosed with fatty liver, and then some doctors told me that ginger is really good for good in the sense it's helpful to reduce the fatty liver. And then I started having some ginger in the mixed with the tea in every morning. And I had a feeling that that is somehow having a counterproductive result. Then later I stopped taking ginger. And then later when I test again, it has been reduced. So I'm not saying that probably ginger is causing that. But the point is that it's really important to have a very balanced diet, whatever we are eating. Even if some foods are kind of healthy, overconsumption is always not good. So it's really important to have a balanced diet.
tene nga ninja nga mermen lo de nga phebe gi men ko la chi gyu yang ji ki phe men ko la gyu yang ji ko de la sang la da pang da so de ani ginger di tsawres chimbal nyugores chimbal nyugores 아니 단단한지 같이 굵으면서 해줘. 같이 굵음디 배나 디 로마칸치 소르지 추글라스나 치 루치니 디 코아디 아니 동바이나 디기 침발을 팽겨레스. 가서 디 콜라야 크그 랑센들이야 장위 랑신치 히어레스다. 디 ngazo da chilu membe toni kashi ngi hako mesro ima kudini lagdo digi chimbal pengres ginger de chawi ranshin za di mangta ne chimbal nyugres labdigi ngarang chrowa da dingin rawro chik rawro chonsons.
Yes. And recently, during my visit in Melbourne, I met a Tibetan doctor, someone who is familiar with the Tibetan medicine. So he told me that, in fact, ginger is not good for our liver because ginger has a nature of heat, and it will somehow kind of not good for our liver. But on the contrary, if we ate a little bit of saffron in the tea, the saffron has the nature of coolness. So that is, in fact, beneficial for the health of our liver. So what he told me really resonate with what I felt.
양 굵음 di mangta na yang changwal nyugres ko changshuk chenpo yawanza mangta na yang zubal nyugres changwal nyugres.
Yes. So although saffron is beneficial or good for our liver, but if we take too much of saffron, it also has its own side effects.
Firstly, congratulations on your healing, Geshe, and very grateful to hear that you were able to experience that. And yeah, thank you for teaching us about that. My question is, lots of people at the moment are
taking to, because of all the changes that are happening, living in their vans, and also people are encouraging and developing living in small communities. There are all these new developments with people because of all of the changes that are happening economically and with government. And I wondered if it was helping people to experience principles of Buddhist living, like the state of impermanence and living more with less unnecessary desires. If perhaps this was happening to people, this is a good thing because it's happening to help people become more in a state of virtue.
No. 단다 비지디 송이서 단다 딱 롱바카스 카war란 지 주와 망부시 로기 라스키 안 주와 망부시 로발레 테니 미 망부치 소아치 당란 양 주와 시우테 로여스 다 비차샤나 미릭직다 소소 데사기 강바이나라 디타 간다 공치르르닝기라 데스 답데루낭 데로다 미가지다 모던 아니데 텐데 용도하게 랑싱이 소아텐데 던주와게 인조긴 조와 왕게텐데 소아치고야 텐데 차가도 왔어 근데 디 갑술라 아니 지금 저 낭베게 삼노당당 디기 텔라야 직 가서 겐센도스나면도 펜토야 텐데 유나면스 베나 미다비 콜라 삼노당야다 두중 주시고 콜라 삼노당야 줘라 텐데기 삼당바 인수나 아니 고 벤조기 왕기 딱 먼저 데사이나라 직 답대우 치바지 케기였다 이네 되나 되기야 상 슈진 상부지 유대와 된지도 용기에 나면스
다치당 교드로야 찍디 잠블리 교드로야 찍디 ngaran samsure chigni da gyawrombo chigi da ani lo mambu shuji ringla ya kalab mambu shu son di da tagba nyen de ga ta dindiga ani rewas ra ani dus chaba cheba na ani gyawdroya chigdi karsa da jik pangme longjo do di seli geba chegyo rasra manzo mi jik ani pangme longjo che di seli geba chegyo ra digi ani pangme longjo seli geba chesa din zambalin di tola re ma do ani shemba meba inza zambalin di tola yebi jik longjo di ani longjo pangme longjo che mang trawa deni ani zambalin di tola yebi ani longjo di da nyor dogo rasra pena shema pajani tongchi tsunjuni da nyong drogo yorasra.
Yes. So of course we see a lot of changes in the world, and many of these changes occur due to overconsumption of resources. We tend to consume more than what is really necessary. We tend to consume and use what is really required. But the resources that we are exploiting or resources that we are using is limited, and they only come from this world alone. For instance, now the drinking water has also become a big issue because of overconsumption or over usage.
Tadi chokchigni penada ani senrik di shukchenbo chawandi nganzon drowa migi chik negab ge anchik longjo ani ndrimdrela soba di tab debu shukchik seyor wasra chokchigni dig toni 아니 nganzu 밀이야 아니 동엄 중요서로지 로 먹고나야 아니 지금 대바끼야기 아니 규진지 자기여러서 딘디기 왕기 드니 미망부 쇼지라 캐나라바나지 대사sam마임바 사양 통야임바이나야 강한테대야 딘디지 로 양고 미리 가실라 아니 지 하장 아니 톰저 쳔보 내가 로 용대야 참 많이 봐 찍디 딘디 돈이 이 메시버레 만도 아스라
Yes. And then, due to the advancement of science and technology, on the one hand, it has really make our life very convenient and easy. But on the other hand, they have kind of increased our desire. They have encouraged us to consume and use more than what is really required. And this habit of overconsumption has a negative impact. And because of that, nowadays we are not only facing issues regarding the living, but also there are many who face issues regarding the basic needs, such as the food. And probably the huge gap between rich and poor occurred due to such habits.
terdedu yagi don diteni ta topchin gyakap mang chajige penjur di ani chi gyakap di bang maser la ma tanya le ani chi duthen chanja soyala soba tanya di dab mambu ani shukche tangsha gorasra ani mamang zani the imbayna ya the shukchembola the di mamang lama drogyo mare pigi ani 다 두튼 천재 소야라 소바 디지털이야 반샤거라스라 다 디기 두튼 천재 디기 다 네바지마도 펜바직 자원이니 다 요마라스라
Yes. And if you look at many of the developed countries, they spent lots of money on developing weapons or even buying weapons. And the money that they get, of course, they tax people. They take huge taxes from the people. And that money that they get from the tax, instead of spending that for the good cause of its own citizen, they somehow tend to divert it to develop or buy more weapons. And of course, weapons are always destructive, and there is no good about it.
tinza da shong yakbu goya di pe kechembura yakab sozula ya shongzi yakbu mamangi dedugla ngonne gi samla tan tungen ki shongzi yakbu leba na ani mamangi tsowa di pegi danyam yongya da ani nyamta la ya ani ompong se ya tende yongsa raza di meba na teni pe kala khabu da pe kala khabu re do asra
So in this regard, it is really important to have a government that can kind of take care of the welfare of all the kind of sectors of the society, who can think more about the goodness and welfare of the people. And if we have such kind of government, then the overall situation will be better.
nganzu mimangbu jigi ani shong government chapsik res la di pe dukcha tsi chine pe dela ya zawni ni chik samlu mata ni yuksha ya tinji yungu yorasra chik chidi pe chapsik mena to ani cheju dukja yoba na dela maga lo ki ta oba 지 리와스 임바이나야 지 아니 pen lomba didra wa yinba na ani mimangi shong rwa mimangi be wendam chebe ani shong le shabi shong jimba nza mimangi ngani so ngani pe gen lang chene ani chik shong ti yagbu chik damyagi shuk gyaba na ani shong yagbu chagira da shong yagbu chi legira shong yagbu chi leba na bang masala rangshingi 세나만도 마음 머슬에 디 다른 것도 없기 아니 디지털 토야지 그 차진지 용도 하서로 팀에와는 숑진 담비 갑둘라 사운드 제마다 아니 테니 숑 레츠베 젤라 테니 아니 강가 채원디 계셔대야지나 아니 디 소수기 레서로지 라 소수기 레서로지 차기도 하서로
Yes. And then sometimes when we say government or politics, some people try to kind of avoid involving in that, saying that politics is not something positive. Of course, we can condemn the negative actions committed by the politicians, but at the same time, the people have always the power to elect or choose our own leaders. So if we want a strong, a good government that puts the welfare of people before others, then we must also actively involve in the election process, because we have the power to choose the government that we want. And when during the election process, we tend to ignore. And then later, when a corrupt government comes, then we tend to suffer. And we also, if we didn't kind of participate in the election process, we also have a role for choosing the wrong people on the power. Therefore, it's really crucial to actively participate to choose a good leaders.
단단 넘버 산지비 추려야 아니 대보체주 이치네 대보 첨부기 추스라운데 다 야스 찬주 셈비기다 냠는 직송고여라서라 야스 찬주 셈비기 냠는 디 아니 심전 탐제 대원되야다 동아세야 디레도서라 심전 탐제 대와 드루스라운데 심전 탐제 뜻지 아니 만소 그 대기 쪼디 슈체슈 대기 칼데니 거여봐 디 드루야지디 야스 찬주 셈비기 아니 탑시레도서라 다 심지어 탐지스라운디 아니 학돈도 저지 소수 년콜로 여비게 아니 심진 되기도 인지미 있었다는 거야지 아직 소수 롱비기 아니 미 되기 돌아 상담하더나 아니 심지어 탐지기 돌아 상담세도 용해 매겨를 줘야 된다 하더라 랑기 롱비기 미기 되기 아니 지 만슈직디 아니 숑을 때는 연구여라더라 숑 약부 지어봐나 아니 롬바디기 미셀이야 아니 디기 망 연구여봐 아니 숑 약부지 매봐나 롬바디기 미셀이야 문도니 강가 체디기 여봐디 무연이스러워서 딘승 니도서 최도 통바치 라 태바친 비 최도 통바치 레샤 삼구도스
Yes. Then, for instance, in Buddhism, there are two major kind of divisions, the Mahayana and the Theravada tradition. The Mahayana or the Bodhisattva practice, the primary objective of Mahayana practice is to attain complete enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So we always kind of strive to bringing about the welfare of all societies. And when we talk about bringing about the welfare of all sentient beings, of course, we have to start from our own immediate kind of people that we are associated with. So even in the politics, if you are not able to take care of your own people, then how we expect them to do something, do a greater for the others. And the happiness or the welfare of the people is again highly dependent on the government and how they kind of manage. Therefore, it's really crucial to have a noble government, and if they work for the welfare of the people, then this is something that aligns with the principles of the Dharma.
된다 대사도서 당한서 대바 인자 대바라 첨부다 아니 지 부탁고 지 존나 삼비단 대바디 여러 와서 이내야 첨부지 여바이나야 첨부디 찬산지 롱제 토야지 문도 왔으라 nga thokpo tindi yo konzola ya kamba chenpo, sacha chenpo tindi nyo che degido asira imba ina ya lega shiodo ata tela ya drosong mado te kepsang kyo ni megyo rochi sacha tela ya kadu ina tsache go ya tsama so go ya tela ya ani drosong tango da asira te digi ani sula pengar tarwa susula pengar mara mela pengar mara asira 아니 캄바 친구저는 캄바디 니마 다바 장마서 거라다 대하면 수수소마도 난 캄바 장마성이 멜 라샤체 거라다 아니 디 로송 주마도 텔레 캡상시 메ጆ지 야 미릭지라야 캄바 친구디 여바이나야 아니 모더는 예서요 주 모더지 뉴지 아니 도스 캄는 로치니 데디 기부레 something에 딘디여라서 양카시 모더지마도 예서 메섬 둥할 게딩에 딘디여 다디 무수수수 삼러렌다 오늘 제바이나 간주 예사지다 칼라 뒤섬 라바이나 디 딕데 요로지 샘나 딕도 삼나 야지야다 딕여스다 딜라지 고고 맞다 딜라지 론지 투 말았어 다 딕모도 다 딜이 야가지 고고도 삼바이나 아니 샘 기우요 맞다 텐디스 벤트로진바나 아니 소소 로츠브드니 아니 소소 롱바샤니다 미 롱발이다 캬 용기 미지라서 이번에 아니마지 당가 롱바메 당가 기분 큰 자원인 상무면서 가와 들어와야나이다 대링아 대사디 대링아 대사리 산이가 가르쳐 하고 말 텐디도 삼단 저지 베 기부도스라 난 내가 콜 되거나 대가라 ngarangi khamba yin sam roshawan kibu bedosra gyasha gyadaman dosra
Now when it comes to other needs such as on the house that we use for living, and of course we all naturally would like to have better houses, bigger houses, but the point is that even if we own a big house, does it mean we could fully kind of enjoy that? Because I have many friends who own large houses and big properties, but obviously they are not being able to kind of fully utilize the big properties that they own. On top of that, there is huge expenses for the maintenance. So sometimes I feel like owning a big property has no good except additional expenses that incur in the maintenance. You have to, take care of that. You have to maintain that. And if you can't do that personally, you have to hire somebody to do that, and so on and so forth. So there are many extra kind of problems for owning a large property. And then even those who own large properties, sometimes they feel that simple living is better, and then they somehow buy a van and explore the country living in a small van and like this. So they enjoy this simplistic way of living. Now, then if you somehow feel that, well, I only have this and I feel really, this is not enough, then that state of mind also have an impact. On the practical level, if we have a place to live, if we have 3 meals per day, that is in fact sufficient for our living. And if you think that, well, if you are satisfied and if you think that is enough for the living, then in fact, that's absolutely fine. And now, if you think this is not sufficient, you need more and more, then that will bring additional kind of, anxiety. So our state of mind regarding our own life has a huge impact on how do we perceive about our own life. For instance, I became a refugee and homeless when I was 17 years of age. And since then, I've been only traveling and no permanent home, but I never felt that I don't have this and that. So therefore, our mental outlook and perception makes a huge difference.
Thank you so much. 터지나. 좀
Yes.
뭐 실수.
So then dedications on page 9 in the text. My two types of merits vaster space that I've amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. May I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives. Manjushri, may I find the best of complete graded paths and teachings. May I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and may the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this graded path to enlightenment completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons, may all the human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent path never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may it always be assisted by the mighty ones. May oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Peerless teacher and assembly of children, the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyakas Buddhas, victorious Losang, father and sons, along with the lineage of masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings, through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole great ways through which all benefit and happiness emerge from other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth, the blessings of the ocean's three jewels, and the great ways of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Chanchu Senchor Rinpoche, Mage Panam Kegyurchi, Kepa Nyamba Mepahi, Gone Gondu Pelwa Shor.